what is the average amount of softwares we should be even entertaining at that point?
That's a great question. It definitely varies from business to business.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Notion, which is a software that
Mm-hmm.
I specialize in, the company themselves did a study on the number of tools that are used in the average business.
Welcome to the show, Ernesto. How you doing today?
Oh, good, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing well, and of course, all my friends call me Buzz, and I invite you to do the same.
Yes.
The
My B
all right.
brother,
So,
my B
remind
brother.
me, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Miami.
Miami, the warm Miami. And you just had a child not too long ago. Congratulations. And being awake at this time of day. We are officially recording this at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern time. And he is awake with a newborn child at home and still running a business. That's gotta be one of the toughest things to do is like keep the momentum at home, all the energy that it needs for your home stuff and your business at the same time, small team, that whole 9 yards. So congratulations. And I admire you for being able to do that. That is not for the weak minded. So with that said, I'm talking about operations today. And before we got on to the show here, we were talking about the fact that, you're working in helping the operations for these small businesses that have got the ball rolling. They're doing around 500 to maybe $1.5 million in revenue. So they have figured out how to sell their stuff, right? And this means they're probably starting to get into a bandwidth crunch in their fulfillment because they're usually solopreneurs up to that point. They might have one, maybe two people helping them out. But this is where operations, every time you add one more person, the complexity multiplies to a small team, right? Because if we had three people and we added one, we just added 33% more human input into this and into the process, creating 33% more anxiety, 33% more communication, and probably 33 or more percent problems. So how does one identify, one, that they have an operations problem, and two, what's the first step in solving that problem?
Well, what got you here won't get you there. Your
Very good.
company at 200K cannot be the same company at 500K. The company at 500 will not be the same company at a million.
Right.
So, just knowing that is already, it's already welcoming in this idea of, hey, I must change along with the growth. Like I must change internally to
Mm-hmm.
continue changing externally.
Mm-hmm.
How do I identify where there's the problem? I mean, I asked the listener, like, where's your goal? Oh, I'm at 500K. I want to get to 800K. What's in the way? And the answer reveals itself.
Right. And so when people talk about what are the symptoms of having like operational issues? Because like a lot of times when I'm hearing somebody say, hey, I want to get to from 500K to $800,000. And if and I ask them like, what's the thing getting in your way? And they talk about marketing, they're usually saying, I need more leads, right? But what are some of the symptoms? And that is a big symptom that your marketing's not working. You're not getting enough leads, right? So in the operations, what are some of the symptoms that we're having operational strains in our small business?
Well, when people are working 60-hour weeks, there is a strain, 60 plus
Mm.
hour weeks. There always is a way to work smarter.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just sometimes people are not aware of that. Another symptom is when you're using more than 5 Google Sheets to run your business. I mean, we're using Google Sheets to begin with. I mean, that's it. If you're on Google Sheets, you have an operations problem. Um, there's specialized software out there. I don't
Right.
know if you know, there's an interesting statistic that I saw that less than 40% of businesses are using specialized software, and which tells me, like right off the bat, like every 2 out of 3 people you meet are not using software. Like, they are
Oh yeah.
probably in some sort of operational strain.
And when we're talking about software, we're talking about a finance tracking. We're talking about project management. We're talking about HR software. All of the things that help us run our businesses in this technologically forward day and age that we're talking about here. We're not talking about, if you're tracking, well, even if like in marketing, if you're tracking your sales, all your sales and your marketing efforts on a spreadsheet, yeah, there's specialized software that help you out with that too. So all of these things is what we call your tech stack. And as you're passing through that 500,000 mark, it really becomes something that you should no longer be trying to manage through Google Sheets and Google Docs and Google Slides and and all the Googles.
And people, I'll say something. I mean, I'll say, hey, there's a problem if you're running your business on WhatsApp and text messages.
Oh my gosh, I
And
don't know how people do that.
they'll say, oh no, but you don't get it. I'm on Slack now. And I say, oh, that's even a bigger problem. And yes, Slack is great. It's just a collection of chat rooms
Right,
and lots of noise.
right,
Most people, I mean, there are definitely optimal ways to use tools like Slack,
uh-huh,
but few people like actually take a moment to design an intention into how they use software, how they label things, how they categorize things. What
right,
is the standard operating procedure for using a tool like Slack? And that's
right.
just, that's just one of the 40 plus tools that any and every business owner will use.
Right. No, I get that. And I think that I think that our modern um, mindset around business is, you know, that we get overwhelmed with how many tools we have in our tech stack. Right. And what do you think is like for somebody who is in that between that 500,000 to $1 million mark, only has 2 or 3 people working in the organization? What is the average amount of softwares we should be even entertaining at that point?
That's a great question. It definitely varies from business to business.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Notion, which is a software that
Mm-hmm.
I specialize in, the company themselves did a study on the number of tools that are used in the average business.
Mm-hmm.
What do you believe the number is?
Oh my gosh. If I had to think about my company and what we use, or when I was at a 500,000, when I was at a 500,000 the first time around, I would probably say we had at least a dozen specialized softwares running the company.
Okay, you had a dozen. Notion calculated 90 tools being used in the
90
average
tool.
company.
What? How do you
I
even keep
my
track of the tools?
I I myself did the audit. I have 40 tools.
40
And
tools.
mind you, I mean tools like banking,
Right.
PayPal, Stripe,
Uh-huh.
Wise for international payment. Like, those are all
Sure,
different
sure,
tools.
sure. No, I get that. Yeah, 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 yeah.
But,
Yeah, I
but
get that. Yeah, we had a brick and mortar. I mean, if you looked at all of our localized tech, then we were over 100 just because we ran print servers and we had servers that had their proprietary server file server management and all that stuff. And I could definitely see how that got in there. But like now with our company right now, I know of about 25 software platforms we use to run the business, 2 dozen.
yeah, and so I
And
think, I was just going to say, I think people get overwhelmed, but I think the faster that they come to grips with the idea that, hey, like, it's a modern world. I need to understand 30 softwares. They also can recognize that they don't need to be the master of the software.
mm,
Like, you hired an integrator. Like, this
mm-hmm,
integrator, I bet, is the master of how all these tools work and how they come together. You, the founder, don't necessarily need to
right.
have that mastery in all these
Mm-hmm.
tools.
Or if you're going to be the integrator, find somebody who can be the visionary for you. Right. And it's like, if you're the one that knows how to get things done, don't try to take on the visionary's responsibilities because you think, well, that's soft, uh, what do they call it? Soft skills. And
Yeah.
it doesn't, anybody can do it. And I'm like, I'm going to tell you right now, you can learn the skill, but it is a skill unto its own. And I find that when I was going between, for a long time, I didn't have a COO, and my brain having to go between the what and the how and the what and the how and the what and the how all the way through the day was exhausting. Now I find that I create a lot better. I have a lot better vision. I have a lot more focus when I can focus on the more I can focus on the what for my business. What are we going to do? What direction are we going? And I can make those decisions clear headedly, and have somebody else to go, hey, listen, how can we make this happen? Is this possible? And they can have their full wits about them clear, and be able to tell me, yes, Buzz, we could do that in the next 90 days. No, Buzz, it's going to take another year for you to get to that point. Dot, dot, dot. So I think having both, going either way, because I think there's some founders who are the technicians, they are the hows. They just
Yeah.
find somebody out there that can be the person that can be out in the front for you.
Yeah. Even I would even add, like, if you're going to be the integrator, right? There's the vision, right? The
Yep.
visionary sets the vision, and the integrator kind of like figures out how to make the
Make it happen.
business
Mm-hmm.
operate to get there. And then there's even like a third part, which is where we kind of thrive. It's like the integrator has to figure out how to take a business from here to there. The integrator is not always going to be like a specialist in the technology.
No. Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
So it's like, hey, who can help us with the specific technology to implement this vision? I'll
Mm-hmm.
focus on the business, but then, find someone who can help you with the technology side.
Right. No, I believe that wholeheartedly. And I think that regardless of what position you're holding within your company, there's always outside help to help you get from point A to point B. Because as you said earlier, and I've said it, and I'm sure millions of people have said it before us, that what got you here, where you're at right now, will not get you to the next phase of where you're trying to go. And that means that you need guides to show you what you don't know, because you don't
Mm-hmm.
know what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And you open the door and you go, well, I'll figure it out when I get there. You might be looking at something and not be able to recognize what it is because you've never seen it before and you can't define it. Or you might identify it and then treat it incorrectly. Like for me, when I was growing through, when I built my first multi-million dollar company, when we were at a million, I was like, all right, I got this figured out. Not knowing that to go from a million, which was just pure grit, I needed to start leveraging things to get to the 2 million. And by the time I got to 2.5 million in revenue, I had forgotten that, oh my gosh, I just doubled my team. And along the way, what I didn't do was I ended up with a bottom heavy a company. My middle management wasn't developed.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know that because I hadn't had to build one of those before.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so it all kind of started kind of crumbling down into a point where it was like, now I'm having to manage all of the middle management and the upper management until I was going to be able to grind that out. Now it's going to be a pain in the butt. Nobody wants to do that. So I was like, screw that shit. I started over.
You're doing it right now. You found someone else to hire them to
Yeah,
manage
there you
them.
go. And I think that, I mean, you never delegate or you never relegate. You can delegate the process, but I don't think you relegate the responsibilities as a CEO. Like I was just reading a case study, and I can't remember who it was, but it's a Fortune 100 company that has Google. I think it's Google. There, somebody in the founder circle still talks to every single person who gets hired at Google. I want to
Wow.
say it's Google. I could be wrong. And listeners, let me know if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was Google that was talking about it. And I'm like, that's amazing. Knowing, I mean, you're talking how many people did they hire a year that person's got to talk to? I mean, I don't know how he does it, but anywho,
It's
I
probably
just
an
think that,
AI robot or something.
well, I'm sure it might be just a 10-minute conversation, right? And it might be like at a certain level, maybe it's like, because it is a large organization, or maybe they don't do it anymore now that they're the size they are. I don't know. But that was the thing, was like, that it was like over 1,500 employees, and this person talked to every single one of the hires because you want to know who
Wow.
was in his company, right? And I think that that's important. Don't you think that's important? That
Yeah.
I mean, even at our level, you have to know everybody, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But you get to a couple dozen. You know how many times I walk through the halls and go, "Who is that?" And I'd have to go to one of my other people that I know, like one of my managers, and go like, "Who's that person sitting over that desk?" And you're like, "Oh yeah, that's a new hire. It's an intern." Well, I wasn't part of the interns. That was like where I drew the line. I was like, I don't need it. You guys. You guys are department heads. You can put interns in. At the time, interns didn't get paid, so I didn't have to worry about whether we're wasting their money or not.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So when we're talking about, I mean, we ran down the gauntlet of tech. When is too much tech, or when does tech start getting in the way of our operations?
I think I think a lot of people don't actually take the time to map technology to
Mm,
processes. And so people might feel like technology, the overwhelm from technology, but you'll never know until you like literally map each process in the business to a tool in the company. And so I think tech will always feel overwhelming, but once you map it, you realize it's all essential.
mm, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think I mean, the thing you're talking about is, as far as process mapping, I think that a lot of people, they see software and they go, "Ooh, that could do this one thing." And you're like, one thing, you're going to get a whole new platform to do one thing in your whole process, instead of creating a process map and go, what software could do multiple pieces of this
Correct.
process? And then it's, hey, there's this one thing that can be done by this one type of technology. And so then that then integrates, and making that process map, or what we call them playbooks now. Because it's like you have these revenue engines of things that you do in your business that actually create revenue.
Mm-hmm.
Sales is one of them. Client
Marketing is
satisfaction
another
is
one.
another.
Yeah.
Fulfillment is another one, right? Accounts receivable is another one. These are all things that create revenue. Like, if you don't sell, you don't have anything to do. If you don't do anything, you have nothing to invoice. If you don't invoice, you don't have no money to collect, right? So like you have to have all these things, right? And so you create these revenue engines, and then they have a playbook of how that happens, right? And those are just process maps. And what I hear you saying is that we need to map our process first, and then look at our tech stack to see how is it aiding us in streamlining that playbook.
Correct. And sometimes you'll see that you're paying for technology that doesn't add to anything.
Right. Oh, 100%. We look at our stuff at least once every 6 months. We go through every single software that's being paid for, and we go, where is it working? How is it being utilized? How often is it being utilized? And what's the impact? And if there isn't an impact, or is there, and then the last piece is is there other software we're already paying for that can do the same job as good, or if not better?
Mm-hmm.
And then if even after all that said, yes, is there other new software out there that we should be looking at instead of this?
Mm-hmm.
Now, where we don't jump guns or jump ships real quick is our project management system.
Your
Our financial
CRM,
management. QuickBooks Online ain't going anywhere anytime soon, because there's cheaper ones out there that could
of
you
course.
do it, but it's not going to do it as well. I promise you, I've gone through too many of them over the last 20 years. Um, so you have some of them where you're like, hey, the cost of moving to another platform outweighs the savings we'll get from even getting into it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think that, yeah, if you're I don't think once a quarter. I think once every 6 months, like twice a year, looking at what are you paying for, and making sure that you got that, because you do. What they have apps now, don't they, for your personal stuff? Where I think it's oh, what is it called? It's one of those credit score folks, Credit Karma. I think, like, you go online and it'll tell you all the subscriptions that you're paying for, and you don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh my
Mm-hmm.
gosh, I wish they
Mm-hmm.
had that for business.
Mm-hmm.
Or do they? Do they have
It'd
that
be
for business?
dangerous. No, I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do.
I wish they did. If you find it, let me know. I want to know, because that would be awesome to be able to go, oh, hey, because we budget, right? We all have budgets, but not everybody writes their budget down. So that
Sure.
means you got to go through your bank accounts and like find out what gets charged every month. and then go find out what your login is because you never
you
used it.
you wonder, like, how does QuickBooks not have something like that? How does QuickBooks not have like a recurring feature on there?
Yeah. I mean, you can do recurring payments, you can do recurring invoices. I wonder, maybe that's part of the new AI for them. I mean, I think that accounting is one of those industries that is getting revolutionized by AI, because
Yeah.
the service itself of bookkeeping and even taxes nowadays is becoming more and more commoditized by automation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that brings me to one of my last questions for you today. How much automation is too much automation in our operations philosophically?
A lot of people ask me about AI.
Mm-hmm.
How is AI, how are you using this thing? And it's like, how much time is it going to take you to learn how to actually understand it and then implement it?
Mm-hmm.
And then how much time is that going to save you? And I think people don't ask the second question enough. And they have no idea how to scope the amount of time it takes to actually learn something. And that is where the question makes sense, of like, do we need to automate something? Like, the amount of time it's going to take to actually learn it, implement it, train other people on how to do it, have everyone in your company understand how it works. That's lots and lots of time. But if it's worth it, if you're doing thousands of transactions a day, I bought a book from you. I don't know if your fulfillment's automated. If it is, like, it's worth it. But people have to ask that question.